Hi, it's Kevin and Russell here from Cascade, and we are at AWS Summit in Cape Town. It's been a great day, it's the end of the day, and kind of thought that we'd do a bit of a wrap-up of the keynote in case you missed the keynote and go through some of the points. So Russ, you want to kick off?
Absolutely. There were so many good points that I made notes. It really was just a great deal of information and very useful information packed into a short space of time. So I thought what I'd do is just start off with the numbers, and I am going to check what those were to make sure I'm giving you the right numbers. First, from attendance point of view, I think 3,500 people was the official number. It seemed like more, but that was the number that they gave. It looked about double the size of last year.
And the expo has grown as well. The number of sponsors is great. It's really good to see international companies coming out and sponsoring the event and being here.
Yeah, we're seeing that ecosystem growing a lot, which is it's more than encouraging, right? It's exciting. So just some of the interesting numbers as well from a product point of view. Peter DeSantos, who gave the keynote address, spoke a lot about security and governance, and mentioned that there are more than 200 distinct services available on AWS for security and governance. So really, I mean, that's an impressive number that comes up a lot all the time when talking about cloud. In many of these cases, they'll surpass other offerings by multiples of 2, 3, 10 times. It kind of doesn't matter. It's significant, right? And then just a really interesting one that I found was 140,000 database migrations using database migration services from perhaps on-premise or co-located or maybe another cloud into the AWS cloud. That was a significant number. And just the last one, because of our interest in machine learning and that space, is TensorFlow, a very popular framework and platform for machine learning. 85% of TensorFlow workloads that run in the cloud actually run on AWS. Yeah.
One of the things that I really enjoyed from today's keynote address were the number of South African case studies. Now, we were quite used to many AWS case studies, but typically these have always been international, or we've had a spattering of South African case studies. But today we heard from Time Bank. That was a great one. So those of you who've seen the launch of Time Bank, where the promise was you can open a bank account in 5 minutes, and I personally tested it, and indeed it is under 5 minutes, and that's on AWS. So it was a great case study. They spoke about how it was 6 months to get them up and running on AWS, and they had some great stats over there. I will post a slide with all of those stats, the number of workloads, how many EC2 instances they've got. Unless you've got some of those stats on hand, you can throw them in.
I don't have all of them, but I think maybe the kind of overwhelming message that was received is that it was really quick to get things going on AWS. Old Mutual, one of the customers who also actually presented, mentioned they started, I think it was 1st of May 2018, with what should we do? And less than a year later, they're talking about kind of green lighting core insurance applications to move to AWS, and how they're going to use this really to increase customer service. And that was the message, right? They're driving business objectives, business transformation. It's not just cool technology, which I think often seems to be the case. Look what I did with this cool widget. It's not about that. It really is about aligning business and moving business forward.
And one of the key things that came across from the people who were speaking from these different companies was the amount of time that it took them to get onto AWS and actually to get the business value out of it. Incredibly short space of time. And speaking of time, the other point that Time Bank made was that over time, their costs have gone down. So they've had a 45% reduction in their AWS costs over the last 9 months of them running the business.
And that's in spite of growing to 500,000 customers, right? So it's not like they had fewer customers.
Business has grown, costs have come down. Hello, cost optimization, and hello, cloud. One of the beauties of the cloud.
Absolutely, a great story. Key services that they touched on, I don't want to go through them all. You can go onto the Amazon website and you can spend the rest of your life reading about the detail on the different services that are out there. But a couple of points that I just want to highlight that came up and one of them that I should actually mention that didn't come up, although they spoke about migration a lot. What they didn't mention is there are actually tools available in AWS that used to be paid for, so they were available from third-party vendors that have been made available for free for people to have a look at in order to do their migrations into cloud. So something I thought I'd mention, you can look that up yourselves as well to see what's available. A lot of focus on microservices. We know about those. We know about containerization.
Kubernetes.
ECS came up as well. Fargate, which is a managed service for Docker, so you don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure and how you provision that. Extolling the virtues of Aurora. I think it happens at every Amazon event.
Yep.
Aurora, if you don't know, is Amazon's SQL database. It's a managed service. It gives the kind of performance and reliability and security that you're going to get from your typical tier ones, if I can call them that, but it's at a tenth of the cost. So that comes up a lot, and some pretty good use cases there.
And then a very large focus on the machine learning range of products that Amazon and AWS have got. This really seems to be an area that they are growing exponentially in terms of their number of products, the number of offerings, the number of companies that have adopted AWS machine learning as well.
Yeah, and the key message is just how easy they want to make it for people to use machine learning. I think Peter dos Santos actually likened it to attaching a volume to an instance, right? So it should be that easy to get to using machine learning tools, and there's a bunch of them. So again, if you go to the AWS website, you can see a listing of exactly what those tools are. But the key is how quickly and how easily you can actually access them to make a difference in your business.
And a quick plug there, if you're interested in some of the machine learning and you want to implement this in your business, give us a shout at Cascade. This is part of the expertise that we have, and some of the areas that we really love playing in is how do we add competitive advantage to your business by introducing machine learning.
That's right. We call it push button rocket science, which maybe is kind of underplays that you do have to do a little bit of work around it to ensure that it provides relevance in your business and that you implement the stuff properly. But it really is available, and I think people don't realize just how available that is to them, and at what cost it is, which is really a low cost entry point to incredibly advanced technologies.
Yeah.
One unusual thing I just wanted to mention is that hybrid IT is something that's spoken about a lot, and I think in the past has always been seen as a stepping stone for people into cloud. Largely, I think we still see it like that. It's like, why would you have something hybrid? It does seem like you're creating complexity and extra things to manage, and surely you can just do this in the cloud. It seems like there's some acknowledgement that we're always going to have something on premise.
Yeah.
And if not always, then maybe in a short term. So from that point of view, there was a couple of services mentioned like AWS Outpost, like running VMware workloads either on premise or in AWS on kind of a native basis. Direct Connect was another one. So yes, this hybrid IT came up, and it was quite an interesting thing to note.
Yeah. So overall, a great keynote session with so much information. I think you have another point?
I have another point, and it's important,
okay.
and I'm sorry I cut you off, but again, the commitment to the region.
Yes.
We often see it's very easy to say, hey, we're doing something in terms of investment and infrastructure and putting things into South Africa, but it's come up again. The plans are clear, what these things look like, how many availability zones there are. These are published, you can go and look it up, and I think that's really significant for us. It's coming to Cape Town, so and I know if you're in Joburg, you might feel that I should have built it in Joburg, but the reality is there's a huge infrastructure already available to AWS in terms of their offices here in Cape Town as well, and I'm sure a bunch of other more technical reasons. But we're looking forward to that. Mid-2020, maybe sooner. Maybe sooner.
Yeah. So that's about it from us, from the keynote and the wrap-up of that. If you missed it this year, make a plan, get down to Summit next year. It was great. So from Russell and myself and Cascade, cheers.